Will. Appreciate that. Appreciate you coming today. Next, I'd like to invite Tim Hale, Cabinet Secretary for Veterans Affairs, to come up and say a few words as well. Tim, we're so glad you came. Thank you.
It's good to be here. Any day that I don't have to go to Santa Fe all day is a great day. So, Representative White, please don't pass it on too much. Truth in Lending Act, though. Again, thank you for taking the time to be here. I come with a couple of stories, actually. My grandparents were sharecroppers up in southeast Missouri, southern Illinois. When World War II hit, my dad went in the Navy. He came out of World War II with a U.S. Navy aircraft painter's rating and ended up at Scott Air Force Base painting airplanes. So I grew up in my younger years. On Saturday mornings, my dad would take me down to the Flightline snack bar, and I would watch airplanes. And when I was out playing Little League ball in Mesquite, Illinois, what would come over the right field was more important to me than the balls that were hitting me in the head, and that was the airplanes coming over. But I was, like so many young men and women that I talk to in New Mexico, when I go out and I go to the rural areas, I didn't know if I would ever be able to achieve something like that. But we had a very innovative school board and a gentleman who had been one of those pilots who was in Vietnam back in the early 60s, but wasn't in Vietnam in the early 60s. And he had a little bit of a tough time with his left arm because he had taken a grenade into his cockpit back in the days when there weren't supposed to be grenades in his cockpit in Vietnam. But he developed a program much like what we're talking about across the state with the STEM program. And he sold the school board that if I can get these young men and women into my class and teach them about airplanes and teach them how the math and how the physics and how the chemistry applies to something that they can put their hands on and go up for a couple of flights and see the reality of what they can achieve, he caught my attention. And out of that, he ignited my interest, he ignited my desire to get an education, to achieve the things that I had seen going on my whole life with the guys who were flying airplanes. I would not have done that without that program, without having been given that opportunity to touch airplanes and to see what math and science really means to a young man or a young woman, where it can take them. From the grandson of a sharecropper through the Air Force taking me through pilot training, through 2 master's degrees, through 45 passport stamps in my passport from all over the world, would never have happened if it wasn't for that type of motivating program. That's what we have to have in New Mexico. When I go out and I talk to leaders in the rural areas, whether it's tribal leaders or leaders in the communities, and they tell me our kids don't think they can do it, I can give them my story and I can say, yeah, we can do it. Because I am a product of that. My brother is an executive at American Airlines. I flew first. And it all started with this program. So it is vitally important that we help our young people get that fire lit. This group is a key component of that. What I bring with my veterans hat on is, again, that same story that we talked about, in many of the committees. We've got a resource here that can help with every one of these programs. We've got resources that we need to keep in the state. Now, our veteran population in New Mexico has actually started to drop. We need to reverse that because we need to recognize the economic stimulus that having those veterans in this state, the community action that they take, that they bring, and what they can bring to our young people and showing them this is something you can do. I know there's others in the room that are a product of that system, that pipeline. This is where it begins. I also sit on a couple of committees that talk about the national security implications of where our schools are today, where less than 25% of of our young people graduating from high school are even eligible to join the military. So, no matter which side of the aisle you sit on, that's an issue for America. Because nobody on either side wants to have the warrior elite class grow up in America, but that's what we're quickly becoming. These types of programs open up a whole range of horizons for our young people. We have to do that. We have to have groups like this that can take it out, take it back to our communities, Raton, Clovis, not just the communities around the bases either, Farmington, and energize our young people that there is something more out there. That helps all of New Mexico. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for letting me be here today.
Thank you. That's awesome.